Mike Johnson, you voted against those spending bills last week. You voting for them on Friday?
Most likely. We have some decisions to be making, and we have to discuss with each other. There's about 10 people who are leaning, and what that means is that we want reassurances, just like Victoria was talking about. Because I'm not really sure we're taking the debt seriously. I'm not really sure we're doing the right things. I was on your last guest, we was talking about how it took Democrats to get things across the line. He was talking about a bipartisan bill on immigration. It wasn't bipartisan at all, and yet we put it off for 2 months, lost all of our leverage, got none of H.R. 2 passed, and then the last two bills we passed right before we got out of this year were huge spending bills. One, which was going to increase spending by over $200 billion in Social Security to a lot of people who are in the federal unions who did not pay into the system in many ways. And then the last one is an omnibus, basically. So I'm not happy with that. I want to discuss that with them before I vote for them.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you did say most likely. That means, Congressman, you're not a firm yes at this point?
That is correct, yeah.
And so Victoria Spartz today, a Republican, your colleague, basically said she wants some sort of assurances. And I heard you echo that. What kind of assurances specifically would you be looking for, or do you want?
I want a specific plan. When we talk about where we're going to make our cuts, how we're going to save this nation from bankruptcy, we have not talked about how we're going to secure Social Security. In about 9 years, because that bill we just passed, Social Security will go bankrupt. It will have an automatic 21% cut unless we do one of two things, which is expand our debt by massive amounts or get the automatic debt cut. And so I just don't think we have a plan. And when I talk about non-discretionary spending, what we call mandatory spending, that is almost 3/4 of our budget. So, if you take the 15% that's military, we have nothing left to cut when we're in 30% deficit. Every 10 days is another $100 billion in debt we get. We're not taking this seriously. I need to see exact plans, what we're going to do, how we're going to tackle this, so that I know that we're going to actually have something that's not going to be passed because 100% of Democrats vote for it, which means it's probably a pretty bad bill.
So you say that we don't have a plan, quote unquote, to deal with some of the items that you just discussed. And I hear you talking about Mike Johnson, but Donald Trump's the incoming president. He's the leader of your party. So when I hear you say we don't have a plan, how much of the blame do you put on the man who's going to be occupying the Oval Office, Donald Trump?
It's up to Trump. It's not up to President Trump to deal with the purse strings. That is legislative body. We're not a monarchy. We're in a republic, and by constitutional delivery, we, Congress, are responsible for the budget, not the president. He can have his own ideas, but ultimately it's up to us to be responsible and pass a budget that's somewhat responsible, because we haven't done that in about 30 years.
And just to circle back, Congressman, on something that you had said, I think you had mentioned something like 10 other colleagues of yours, Republicans, who want to hear from Mike Johnson or speak to him. Are there conversations happening behind, or let me put it this way, there are conversations happening among Republicans right now. If it's not Mike Johnson, then it's blank, or then it's who?
No, I don't think so. And I don't think it's very realistic that somebody else is going to be able to come in and grab the reins. That's why I say most likely he will be the next speaker. But that doesn't mean there can't be conversations. This is where you have your leverage. This is the one time that you have before you elect a speaker to get assurances and a plan, something that makes sense to us, something that's actually tangible, something that you can actually put on paper even, that you can say, look, this is my plan to actually tackle something that if we don't, we'll bankrupt this nation, we'll lose our currency standard, we'll lose our place in history, and it'll be over for all of us.
Let me leave you with this. Is there a way that you can envision yourself voting no against Mike Johnson?
You know, I hope not. But I don't want to pin myself in any corner. I want to make sure I have great conversations. I think Speaker Johnson is in a tough spot. This is a tough job to have. I think he's an honest guy. He's a humble guy. I think he's conservative. I think he has great intentions. But I want to help him come up with that plan, just like everybody else in Congress, especially my Republican colleagues, those people who are deficit hawks like myself, those people who want to see us successful well into the next generation. We have to have something exact, though. This is no more can we talk in pastels. We have to be bold.
Congressman Rich McCormick, thank you for coming on tonight here on the Hill. It's going to be an interesting day up on Friday here in Washington. And thank you for watching. And make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.